I'm 41, married for 17 years, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought my biggest issue was dealing with a teenage daughter who slams doors and rolls her eyes at everything I say. But then, she came home crying. Ugly, crying. The kind of sobbing you feel in your chest before you hear it. And now I can't stop thinking about something I never imagined I'd be questioning. Let me back up a little. We've lived in the same small suburban town for about 12 years now. My husband and I are both teachers, and we've always had a pretty normal, uneventful life. Bills get paid, birthdays are celebrated, vacations are modest but consistent. We're not rich, but we're stable. Our daughter, Ellie, is 14. Smart, sensitive, social in a quiet way. She's not the loud, center of attention type. She's the kind who's always listening, watching. Her best friend is Ava. They've known each other since kindergarten and have been practically glued together since 2nd grade. I know Ava's mom, Caroline, pretty well too. She's a single mom, recently divorced, and she's, well, a lot. Loud, flirty, always the life of the party, even if there's no party happening. The kind of woman who wears perfume so strong you can smell it before you see her. For a long time I thought she was harmless. A bit much, but harmless. My husband, Nick, always said she was funny, and just one of those people who thrives on attention. I never questioned their interactions. She was just Ava's mom, and sometimes she'd stay a bit longer after drop-offs, or come in for coffee if she was picking Ava up late. I didn't love it, but I chalked it up to her being lonely, and maybe a little too friendly. But then came that Friday night. Nick had taken Ellie and Ava to the movies. Nothing out of the ordinary. He's always been good with them, plays the cool dad role to perfection. It's part of what made him such a great teacher, too. The kids love him. They got home around 10 p.m. I was in the kitchen loading the dishwasher when Ellie walked in, eyes red and swollen, trying to pretend like nothing was wrong, but I know my daughter. I stopped what I was doing and asked if everything was okay. She said yes. I asked again. She broke. Ellie didn't tell me at once. It came out in bits and pieces over the next few days, little fragments that didn't seem like much until I started putting them together. And the picture that's forming now? It's not just uncomfortable. It's disturbing. It started with something small. Ellie said she didn't want to hang out with Ava anymore. That alone was a red flag. These girls have been inseparable since they were 7. They'd sleep over at each other's houses, FaceTime every night, even dress up as matching characters for Halloween every year without fail. So to suddenly say, I don't want to be her friend anymore, wasn't just weird, it was seismic. When I asked her why, she shut down, told me it was complicated and that she didn't want to talk about it. I left it for the night, but the next morning I found her sitting on the stairs scrolling through her phone, looking like she hadn't slept. I sat down next to her and waited, quietly. After a while, she said something that hit me like a freight train. She asked, "Mom, do you think Dad would ever cheat on you?" I froze. I tried to keep my voice calm when I asked her where that was coming from. She wouldn't look at me, just kept her eyes glued to her screen and mumbled, "Forget it," but I couldn't forget it. A couple of hours later, I went into the laundry room to grab something and found one of Nick's jackets, his puffy winter one, the same one he wore the night he took the girls to the movies. When I reached into the pocket, something was crumpled inside, a receipt from a wine bar, dated that Friday night. The kicker? It was for 2 drinks and a shared appetizer. At 9:21 p.m. So not only had he not been with the girls at the movie, like he said, he was somewhere else, with someone else. I didn't say anything right away. I needed more. I went to Ellie again and told her I needed her to be honest with me. I said I wasn't mad, just confused. She got quiet again, but this time she told me more. Said they never actually went to the movies. Ava told her, right before they got there, that her mom was picking her up early and that Mr. Nick said he'd give your dad some space. Then Ava got into Caroline's car. Ellie assumed it was something prearranged, but when she and Nick drove away, instead of going home, he told her they had one quick stop to make. He pulled into a parking lot, told her to stay in the car and lock the doors. Said it'd only be a few minutes. Ellie sat there, in the dark, waiting, for nearly 40 minutes. She saw him walk across the street into some building with dim lights. She didn't know what it was at the time, but I did. The wine bar. When Ellie told me about that night, how she sat in the car alone, waiting for her dad while he disappeared into a building, I didn't know whether to cry or scream. She didn't even realize what she was describing. She was more upset about Ava lying and ditching her last minute than what Nick had done. But I knew. That wine bar? It's not some casual hangout. It's the kind of dimly lit, overpriced place people go to have private conversations. Romantic ones. Intimate ones. I asked her if she knew who he was meeting. She shook her head, said he didn't tell her anything, and when he came back to the car, he was flustered, kept checking his phone the whole way home and didn't talk much. She'd assumed maybe he was meeting with someone about work, until Ava messaged her the next morning and said something Ellie wasn't ready to tell me. At first I didn't push, but later that night, while she was getting ready for bed, she left her phone charging in the kitchen. Notifications kept popping up. I wasn't planning to snoop, but then I saw Ava's name. The last message preview made my stomach flip. You weren't supposed to see anything. My mom said your dad was going to talk to you soon. I opened it. There was more. So much more. Apparently, Caroline had told Ava that she and Nick were close, that they'd been talking a lot and figuring things out. Ava didn't know how much to believe, but she'd told Ellie just enough to wreck her. Ellie saw them together. Not just that night, but before. One afternoon after school, a few weeks back, she forgot her sketchbook at Ava's place and walked in without knocking. Caroline was standing close, too close, to Nick in the kitchen. She didn't say anything at the time. She told herself she imagined it. But now, it all made sense. And here's the kicker, Caroline knew Ellie saw. Because right after that day, she suddenly started acting sweet to Ellie, offering her rides, bringing snacks to school, posting photos of the girls together and tagging me, like we were some perfect little co-parenting friendship circle. Now I couldn't help but wonder, how long had this been going on? How many times had I invited Caroline in for coffee, completely blind to the way she looked at my husband? And worse, how many times had Nick let it happen? That night, I sat on the bathroom floor with the door locked, phone in hand, rereading the messages between Ellie and Ava, over and over, trying to figure out if I was overreacting, if there was any innocent explanation. But every message painted the same ugly picture. This wasn't a one-time meeting. Caroline and Nick had been talking, seeing each other, and dragging our daughter into the shadows of their mess. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I really didn't. But that's when I remembered something that had slipped my mind until now. A month ago, Caroline had posted a picture of a book, some self-help thing about embracing new love after betrayal. Normally, I scroll past her stuff, but I remembered that post clearly because she captioned it with something cryptic like, "When they know, they just know." At the time, I thought it was her being dramatic about her divorce. Now, I wasn't so sure. So I did something I hadn't done in a while. I checked my husband's phone. I used to trust him so much, I'd never even thought to go through it. But that night, after he went to bed, I waited until he was snoring and slipped it from the charger on his nightstand. I didn't find any texts from Caroline, but I did find a hidden photo album on his phone, titled Archive, buried deep under folders for school stuff, lesson plans, and screenshots of memes he saves for his students. There were only 4 pictures, but they were enough. One of them was from the same wine bar, same dim lighting, a plate of food in the middle, 2 glasses of wine half drunk, and across the table, Caroline. Hair curled, red lipstick, leaning in with that over-the-shoulder smirk that screams, "I know what I'm doing." The rest were worse. Not graphic, just personal, taken too close. A selfie of them at what looked like a park, probably one of those weekends when I thought he was running errands. Another of her in his hoodie, and the last one? It was a picture of a necklace. The one I'd seen Ellie wearing before, the one Caroline gave her on her birthday. Only this one was still in the box, with a caption saved beneath it in his notes app, for E, from both of us, from both of them. Like they were some kind of united front, like they'd already planned how to tell her, like this was inevitable. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just sat on the edge of the bed while Nick snored beside me, completely unaware that the ground beneath his life was starting to crack open. I had the photos, the wine bar receipt, the necklace, my daughter's tears, and still I kept asking myself, is it possible I'm wrong? Could there be an explanation? But deep down, I knew. The next morning, I called in sick to work and told Ellie she could stay home too. I said we were taking a mental health day. No questions asked. She didn't argue, just curled up next to me on the couch and watched cartoons like she was 6 again. Every time she laughed, I felt this ache in my chest, because I knew the happiness wouldn't last, not with what was coming. Nick left early for school, like always. I waited until he was gone, then grabbed his laptop from the office. I didn't want to look. I really didn't, but I had to. Something was telling me there was more, something I hadn't found yet. It didn't take long. There was an email account I'd never seen before, one he clearly thought I'd never find. It wasn't on his main inbox, but saved in a browser tab, left open like it was nothing. It was an account used solely for messaging Caroline. There were dozens of emails. Most were boring. Conversations about Ellie and Ava's school schedules, field trips, pickups, all the stuff that could be brushed off as friendly parenting coordination. But buried between those were messages with no subject line, late-night timestamps, emails that ended with lines like, "I hate sneaking around, but this is the only way we can talk. Ellie's smart. She's starting to pick up on things. After the spring break trip, we'll figure out the rest." What spring break trip? I didn't know anything about a trip. We weren't planning to go anywhere. We'd decided to stay home this year, unless he had other plans. So I opened his calendar. There it was, blocked off in bright red. Orlando, April 13, 17. And the note attached? Reserved, 2 queen beds, Ava included. That was next month. He was taking a trip, with Caroline, with Ava, and without telling me or Ellie. I stared at the calendar entry like it might rewrite itself if I blinked enough times. But it didn't. April 13/17, Orlando. 2 queen beds, Ava included. No mention of Ellie, no mention of me. Just like that, my husband had planned a secret vacation with his daughter's best friend's mom. And the worst part? He brought their kid along to sell the illusion, to make it all look like some innocent family getaway. Only it wasn't our family, was it? It was theirs. I couldn't sit with it anymore. I didn't need more proof. I didn't want to play detective in my own marriage. I wanted answers. So that afternoon, I asked Ellie if she wanted to stay with my sister for the night. I told her I needed space to talk to her dad about something important, and I didn't want her around for it. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded, grabbed her backpack, and said, "Okay," like she already knew. Nick got home around 5:40 p.m. He walked in, tossed his keys on the counter, kissed my cheek like everything was normal, and went to wash up. I stood there, holding the necklace box I'd found in his phone photo, and waited. When he came back into the kitchen, he looked surprised to see me standing still. I asked him calmly, "When were you going to tell me about the trip?" He blinked, confused, then tried to act like he didn't know what I was talking about. So I told him the calendar, the hotel, the reservation, the emails, and still, he denied it. Said it was a last-minute idea for the girls, that Caroline was struggling, and he wanted to surprise the kids with a fun trip. Said he didn't tell me because he wasn't sure it would even happen, but I could see it in his face. The shift. He was caught. And just like that, his tone changed. Suddenly, I was the problem. He said I was spying on him, violating his privacy, that I had no right to go through his phone and computer without permission. He said I was paranoid and twisting everything because I've never liked Caroline. And then he said the line I don't think I'll ever forget, "You're being jealous over something that doesn't even exist." I didn't even answer him. I just slid the receipt across the counter, then the screenshots of the emails, then the necklace box, one by one, like cards in a losing hand. He didn't say a word, just stood there, silent, and that silence said everything. I waited for him to speak, for a flinch, a stutter, a single damn apology. But Nick just stood there with that blank, flat look on his face, like a student caught cheating who thinks staying quiet will somehow fix it. So I asked one last time, "Are you in a relationship with Caroline?" His answer? A shrug, not a no, not a yes, just that half lift of his shoulders that made me want to scream. I felt something inside me snap, something deep and final. I didn't yell, I didn't throw anything. I just said, "Get out." That woke him up. He blinked and said I was being dramatic, told me I was blowing this out of proportion, that there was nothing inappropriate going on between him and Caroline, and that he should have known I'd react like this was some normal misunderstanding. I asked him again, "Why did you lie about the movie night? Why did you tell our daughter to stay in the car while you went to meet Caroline at a wine bar?" And he had the nerve to say, "Because I knew you'd take it the wrong way." That was his excuse. Not that it didn't happen. Not that he didn't mean anything by it. Just that I'd take it the wrong way. As if there's a right way for a man to sneak off to meet another woman while his daughter sits alone in a parked car. That was it for me. I told him he had until the end of the night to leave. He laughed, said, "You're not serious." So, I got serious. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos Ellie had sent to her friend that night, the time-stamped messages, the screenshots from his secret email. And finally, I opened my messages and showed him the text I had already sent to Caroline. I told her everything. That I knew. That I'd seen it all. And that her daughter might be better off spending a little less time with my husband. Nick's face went pale. And when I say pale, I mean white as chalk. He asked me why I dragged Caroline into it. Said it wasn't fair to blow things up for her and Ava like that. Said I was acting vindictive. That's when I told him something I hadn't even planned to say. "She's not my problem anymore. Neither are you." And I walked out of the room. It took less than an hour. I hadn't even finished changing the sheets in the guest room when my phone lit up with a new message from Caroline. No greeting, no explanation, just one line. "You had no right." That was it. She followed it up with a voice note, which I didn't listen to. I didn't need to. I could already imagine her voice, overly calm but sharp around the edges, pretending to be above it all while seething underneath. That woman has always been performative. Oversized smiles, too many exclamation marks in her texts, always inserting herself into conversations she wasn't invited to. But now, the mask had slipped. I blocked her. Simple as that. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to give her the fight she clearly wanted. But just as I was setting the block, I noticed something. She had changed her WhatsApp profile picture within minutes of my message. It was a photo of 2 wine glasses on a wooden table, with a man's arm, Nick's arm, barely visible at the edge of the frame. I recognized the sleeve. It was from that night, the one he told me never happened. She posted it on purpose, as if to say, yes, it was real. What are you going to do about it? I didn't respond, but I didn't need to, because later that evening, Ava's dad showed up at my door. Apparently, Caroline's ex-husband follows her social media closely. They'd been locked in a custody dispute for months, and when he saw the wine bar photo, he immediately knew who the man in the picture was. Nick. He came to my house furious, not at me, but at them. Said Caroline had been denying any outside influences were involved in her parenting or relationship. Claimed she was focused entirely on Ava. Now here she was, posting cozy date night photos with a married man, and dragging both daughters into it. He said he was calling his lawyer first thing in the morning. I apologized for the drama. He told me not to. He thanked me. And then he said something I wasn't expecting. I don't think this is the first time they've done this. I didn't know what he meant. Not yet, but I would. When Ava's dad said, I don't think this is the first time they've done this, something in my gut twisted. He looked me dead in the eye and said, Caroline has a pattern. Then he told me about the real reason their marriage ended. It wasn't just drifting apart or fighting about finances like she always claimed. It was infidelity. Specifically, her getting too close to a married coworker at her old job. Late-night texts, lunches that turned into dinners, innocent rides home, and then the same thing I'd just experienced. Her claiming nothing happened and that his jealousy was the real problem. Sound familiar? I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. All this time, I thought Caroline was just a flirty, dramatic woman with poor boundaries. I didn't realize I'd let a serial cheater into my house, around my husband, around my child. Ava's dad said he didn't have proof back then. Caroline was always just careful enough. She'd twist stories and gaslight him into believing he was paranoid. But now that she had posted that photo, and now that Nick was involved, the pattern was undeniable. It got worse. He said he remembered Caroline mentioning Nick months ago, before their divorce was finalized. She joked once, Ellie's dad is cute. Teachers are always secretly freaky, right? He didn't think anything of it back then, just brushed it off. But now? He wondered how long they'd really been in contact. After he left, I sat on the floor, staring at the necklace again, and I thought back to something Ellie said months ago. We were in the car and she asked out of nowhere, would you ever be friends with someone who used to be in love with Dad? At the time, I laughed it off. I assumed she'd picked it up from a show or something Ava had said. But now I couldn't stop wondering, had she been trying to tell me something even then? Had I missed every red flag because I was too busy assuming the worst could never happen to me? Well, it did. And now that I saw Caroline for who she really was, and my husband for what he'd become, there was no unseeing it, no fixing it, no forgiving it. I waited until Sunday morning. Nick was still living in the house, sleeping in the guest room like some misplaced stranger pretending we were working through things. He walked around in a fog, trying to make small talk, cooking breakfast like we were still a family. He didn't know I'd already contacted a lawyer. He didn't know I'd frozen the joint bank account. He didn't know I was done. That morning, I sat him down at the kitchen table. No emotions, no yelling, just facts. I handed him a folder, everything neatly stacked inside, copies of the wine bar receipt, the screenshots of his emails, photos of him and Caroline from his phone, even Ava's dad's signed statement, should I ever need it in court. Then I gave him a single sentence. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. I've already moved the money. The house is in my name. You have 1 week to move out. He didn't react at first. He blinked like he'd misheard me. Then he tried to talk, but I cut him off. Told him I didn't want explanations. I didn't want apologies. I didn't want to hear about context, or how hard things have been, or how he didn't mean for it to go that far. Because it did go that far. It went past far. He cheated. He lied. He gaslit me and our daughter to protect something he was too much of a coward to admit. He put a child in emotional crossfire and expected us to play along. He sat in silence while Caroline flaunted a fake future online. And the worst part? He probably would have continued if Ellie hadn't caught him, if Ava hadn't told her, if I hadn't listened. He sat there, mouth open, no words coming out. Just silence. I stood up, walked away, and didn't look back. Later that day, he packed a suitcase and left. Not a word. Not a single text since. I assume he went to Caroline's, though I haven't confirmed it, and I don't care to. The next day, I filed the papers. I told Ellie everything. Well, everything age-appropriate. I explained that her dad had broken our trust, that none of it was her fault, and that we'd be okay, that she was safe, that I would never keep secrets from her the way he did. She cried. I did too, but something changed after that conversation. She smiled for the first time in days. A real one, like a weight had lifted. It's been 3 weeks now. The divorce is moving forward. Ellie and I are going to visit my sister over spring break instead of Orlando. The house is quieter, but peaceful. I've slept better in the last 10 nights than I have in the last 10 months. I don't know if Caroline and Nick are together. I don't know if Ava knows the truth. I don't care. Let them have each other. They deserve every awkward, complicated, guilt-soaked second of whatever disaster they're pretending is love. As for me, I'm rebuilding. Slowly, quietly, honestly. With my daughter beside me, and no more lies under my roof.